Namaste yogis and lovers of wellness, and welcome back to the Yogi Blair YouTube channel. Today's wellness video is going to be a quick little get ready with me. We haven't done makeup here in a hot minute, and I wanted to just chat with you guys and actually do a full-on get ready with me. You're gonna see what I look like before doing all of this. I'm gonna show you how I do this natural kind of no makeup look, but with a little bit more of a glam side to it. Obviously, I'm wearing full coverage foundation, and I went ahead and did do a contour moment. So it's not necessarily no makeup, but it's a very minimalistic look that is my go-to when I don't feel like doing the whole shebang. And the reason that I want to do a get ready with me today, it's not going to be a full-on tutorial. Today, we're going to talk about some of my favorite ways to reduce stress. So if you need some new ways to reduce stress in your life, stay tuned. But before we get into that, I just want to say that if you're new to my channel, I want to welcome you here. My name is Vanessa Blair Ferris. I am a certified registered yoga instructor, and it is just my passion to share not only yoga, but these wellness videos with you guys where we talk about makeup, we talk about skincare, we talk about reducing stress and everything else that goes along with anything that you can consider wellness. So we're gonna back it up a little bit, and I'm gonna see you here with a bare face and my hair not brushed. All right, guys, now this is a full get ready with me. This isn't like I'm showing up with my hair done and everything else done except for my eye makeup so that you can't see that I have skin and hair that's not perfect. Like, this is me. I film on Tuesdays, so this is me on a Tuesday afternoon. I woke up, I did my cardio workout, I showered, washed my face, put on some fresh yoga clothes, and this is what I look like. My hair's not brushed. Yeah, this is me. So I am prepped. I exfoliated my lips and put actually I use my eye cream as a lip primer, or I'll use my primer. And my face is washed, moisturized, and I have SPF on today. I'm using the Blue Lizard Sensitive Face Sunscreen, so if you see a bit of a white cast, that is why. I am gonna go ahead and turn around and brush my hair out, touch it up if it needs it, maybe get my bangs out of the way today with a little bit of a braid, and then we'll be right back to it because I do need my mirror to do that. So I'm gonna do that and we'll be right back. Okay, that is much better. Of course, the first take that I do, my dog has to bark because somebody rings the doorbell. If you see that somebody has a Ring doorbell, there's just no need to ring the doorbell. We get notifications, we see you. And when you ring my doorbell, it makes my dog bark incessantly. So, moving on. We're going to do a very minimal look with the face today. I have some new products that I think are going to be going into my good bag at the end of this year, and some things that might be on their way out, which we will find out at the end of the year. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So we all know that my favorite product to prime with is the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in with that. And I know I've mentioned this before, guys, but the reason that I love this primer so much is that it really, truly lasts a very long time. I've had this since October of last year. It is March, and it's barely even gone. So I'm gonna take, this is really awkward to do this way, but it's just so much nicer to see you this way than putting you in my vanity. I used to take a selfie stick, prop my phone up on it, and set it in my vanity here, and things would always get knocked over. And this is just, I mean, everything gets knocked over because I just don't have enough space, but until I get a new vanity, that's just how it's gonna be. Okay. So I'm gonna let my face warm that up. I wanna talk about reducing stress. On this channel, we talk about yoga and wellness a lot. Another thing I talk about all the time is skincare. And I feel like for a lot of us, skincare is a way to reduce our stress, but there's also, especially when you have rosacea or acne, I know that my acne was triggered a lot by stress and by change. And anytime I was going through a big change in my life, my acne would get worse. So one of the biggest things I think for my wellness, and one of the reasons why I love yoga, and one of the best things for my skincare, is reducing stress. So there's a lot of things that I do. And obviously wellness in general is just ways to keep us sane. One of the newer things that I have discovered that I've been wanting to try for a really long time is a weighted blanket. And my mom and dad got me one for Christmas this past year. And I don't sleep a night without it anymore. It has really changed the way I sleep. And with anybody, I think, that deals with not only just anxiety and depression in general, but also those of us that have been diagnosed with PTSD, sleep was one thing that was really hard for me for a really long time. And it was really hard to not have nightmares and even just to sleep through the night. Like, my nightmares and everything have kind of gone away over the last year or so. Sometimes I still wake up sweating bullets, but it's rare. But I used to always just wake up constantly throughout the night. I would wake up every couple of hours, just like, not wide awake, but it's just, I constantly would wake up. And even though it was easy for me to fall back asleep, it was just constantly waking up all night long. And the weighted blanket really made a huge difference in how I sleep. The only time I wake up in the middle of the night now is if I'm like hot, because the blankets can be warm. If I get hot, or if my dog wakes me up. Those are the only times that I wake up anymore. And it's just been a game changer for me. So normally I do my eye makeup first while my primer and everything is setting into my skin. I do my eyes and then I do my skin. I am going to prime my eyelids with the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. This is the original formula. And then I am going to just go ahead and do my foundation since we're doing a more natural look today. I am not going to do any sort of like crazy eyeshadows. And I only use this primer on my lid. I prime the underneath of my eye with my Tatcha Silk Peony Eye Cream. I just feel like that really works with this foundation. So another thing that I have found really helps me reduce my stress levels is mindfulness. And I use the Calm app, which is a yearly subscription. You don't pay monthly for it. It's kind of pricey. It's $69.99, so $70 a year, which when you divvy it up monthly isn't so bad, and I think it's worth it because I use it every day. But you really want to make that commitment to practice. And there is a free version too, where you can kind of learn how to meditate and try some samples of things to decide if you like it or not before purchasing it. But I actually renewed my subscription this year and I got it for 40% off. So I'll go ahead and check and see if that's still an active sale. And if it is, I'll link that below. And either way, I'll link the app below because it is one of my favorite things when it comes to reducing my stress, is practicing mindfulness and meditation. So now I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my foundation. I have been using, as we all know, the Cover FX Power Play Foundation, and this is in the shade N25. This shade is a little dark for me this time of year, but daylight savings just happened. It's starting to warm up outside. I'm hoping it stays that way. The days are getting longer, so this will start to become my shade again, so I'm not even gonna worry about getting a winter shade. By the time my skin's too light, it's already to the point where it's going to be sun-kissed again. So I just put this, I really need to get a palette, but as of now, I have been putting this on the back of my hand and just going in all over the face. First, I'm going to use my foundation brush, which, can we just look at this mug for a moment? I'm going to link who makes these below. One of my students, Amber, who requested the Yoga Journey series, got me this as a gift, and it is just the sweetest thing. I drink my coffee out of it sometimes. My favorite mugs, I alternate between drinking coffee and using them as a place to hold my brushes. I make sure they're clean, so don't worry. So yeah, I'm just going to dab this onto my brush and then work it into my face, starting with the center, moving out. So another thing that I have been doing a lot of recently is just trying to take care of myself more. When you become a yoga teacher, your primary focus is kind of just taking care of everybody else. And sometimes we forget about ourselves. So I've really been making sure to put in the effort to take care of myself. One way that I really find helps me reduce my stress is massages. I know I've mentioned in a few videos that I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia as a teenager, and that causes, for me, it causes my fascia to be very tight and very sticky. And this foundation looks way darker too because of that zinc sunscreen that's on. It makes my skin look even lighter than it already is. So if you're like judging me, just don't. But anyway, yes, massages have always been not just something that's like luxurious for me, but really a great method of pain management. And here in Fort Wayne, I have been seeing Maggie at Trilogy Wellness Studio on West Jefferson Boulevard. I will link her website below. I actually teach yoga there as well. It is a yoga studio and a wellness studio. So they offer massages, they offer other wellness services like Reiki and just all kinds of good stuff. So I definitely 10 out of 10 would recommend for sure. We don't want to bring this foundation too far up under the eye. We're going to put concealer there in a bit, so we're not going to worry about it. But yes, massages have been another thing for me that have just been a game changer, as well as just trying to get back into my own yoga practice. When you start teaching, sometimes you forget that you need to continue to take classes, which I know I mentioned in my video last week when I was talking about teacher training. I say too much. I know I do. I'm sorry. So I attend classes both at Trilogy as well as Simply Yoga. Simply Yoga was my first studio that I ever attended when moving out this way, and it is where I did my teacher training, and it is where I teach and continue to practice a lot. So I try to make it down to Simply Yoga a couple times a week, even if it's just, you know, a couple back-to-back classes on a Wednesday evening, or, you know, I'm trying to start going on Saturdays too, but yoga is just, I know I'm a yoga instructor and obviously that's like gonna be something that I love, but yoga is just such a great way to reduce stress, guys. And if you're not local, if you can't attend one of my classes because you don't live in Indiana, that's okay. I post yoga videos every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time here. So you can get a little yoga in that way and just find a studio by you where you can kind of talk to somebody one-on-one in person and connect with them. That's a huge part of a yoga practice that I think is really important. I will link Simply Yoga below as well. And I know some people aren't necessarily yoga people. That is totally fine if you're here. I'm proud of you for continuing to watch my videos, even if yoga is not your thing. If the gym is more your thing and a way for you to reduce stress, or if you like both, I will link the gym that I teach yoga at, Catalyst Fitness. There are multiple locations across Fort Wayne, which is just absolutely great. No matter what side of town you live on, there's a downtown location, a southwest location, a northeast location. It's a great, great, great way to make sure that no matter where you are, no matter what side of town you're on, if you bump around like I do for work, you don't have an excuse to not get to the gym because there's one everywhere. So I'll link them below as well. They always run great promotions too. So definitely something to check out if you're into more of the workout, or if you want to do some yoga, but you also want access to other workout classes or just a treadmill or some weights. That's a great option. So now in order to blend out my foundation and make sure that it is just jiving with my skin, that kind of has some texture, kind of has some areas that are a little more on the dry side or whatever this time of year with my rosacea, I am going to use my Blendiful from Tati Beauty and just grab a little bit more foundation and just bounce it out, just like I would with my sponge. Another thing that I find really helps me with reducing the amount of stress in my life is just taking some time to read a book. I made a New Year's resolution this year to read a book every month, and so far I've been doing well. I need to get on it with my March book, but yeah, it's really helped me, and it's almost kind of a form of meditation, I think, for a lot of people. I usually don't bring foundation onto my eyelid. I usually just use my primer, but I am going to just not get any extra product, but just to kind of even out that skin tone, because I'm not going to be wearing a ton of eyeshadow today, and it's just a really stark difference. But anyway, reading, I think, is a form of mindfulness. You have to really kind of focus and pay attention, and when we're so used to the instant gratification of social media, I noticed when I didn't read a book for a while and then went to go read something, it was really hard for me to concentrate, and I kept wanting to like skip ahead, and I kept wanting to just almost get to the point really quickly because I didn't have the patience to sit and read anymore, which freaked me out. So I've really been making an effort to read a book no matter how long it takes, and just really focus on reading and being present within the book, which is something that I love. Another way that I love to reduce my stress is once a month or so doing an at-home facial. Now, I use air quotes with that because I don't do much with my at-home facials, and actually, why do I burp every time I talk too much? Oh, that's so annoying. I'm so gross. Anyway, and my eye's twitching. And there I go with the ums again. What was I saying? Oh yeah, at-home facials. If you hop on over to my Instagram at yogi.blair, I did a video in my skincare series for Skincare Saturday where I posted my at-home facial. And it kind of coincided with my winter skincare video that I have on here that I can go ahead and link here. I get confused with left and right and where it's going to show on the screen. And I'm like, but yeah, my winter skincare routine, which you guys have seen, has kind of changed a little bit, but not much. Those things that I showed you in that video are still very solid, very good. But I kind of have more that I do once in a blue moon when my skin's feeling like it really needs something extra. Once a month, I do a little at-home facial. I don't do anything invasive. I don't do extractions. I don't do any scrubs. It's very gentle for my kind of skin. And I'm not saying that with rosacea you can't go get a facial, but you need to be very mindful of what kind of facials you get. And when I worked in salons back in Ohio, I had such a great group of people that I really trusted with my hair and with my skin. And it's just been really hard for me to even step out of that comfort zone here in Fort Wayne. I've lived here for 2 years and I still haven't had a haircut in Fort Wayne. I scheduled one for April. I'm gonna get a haircut here, but I'm scared because when you have unique hair or unique skin, it's really hard to kind of trust people with it. So I just do things just to really baby my skin once in a while, and it's really a nice way to relax. My at-home facial is really calming. I try to put on some like Indian flutes or some other kind of relaxing ocean sounds, or just some really calming meditative music, and I'll get white rose tea bags, make myself some rose tea, and then chill the tea bags, put them under my eyes. It's just a really soothing experience, and yeah, it's super, super calming. Okay. So as you can see, I'm getting the hang of the Blendiful. I find that putting product on the back of my hand and dabbing it in and only bouncing it in after I get a layer on my face, just like I would use my regular beauty blender or beauty sponge, has really been working for me. So yay. So next I'm gonna go ahead and conceal under my eyes. I have N Fair 1 and N Light 1. I find that these are nice enough where I don't need to really color correct. I don't need to get a more yellow concealer to conceal any redness, because I feel like with my foundation and with this concealer, I don't need more. And I don't want to make my routine any more extra than it already is. So I just find a clean spot on my hand and I dab that onto my hand. And I take about the same amount of the N Light 1. The N Fair 1, you've all seen my previous videos. In the winter, it was kind of okay, but especially I feel like in the summer, it's about to start to be getting too bright. And it's even too bright sometimes on camera. It's light. The N Light 1 is my skin tone. It pretty much matches the N25 foundation. So that would be great to cover a blemish because it's not too light for your skin to where you're accentuating that area. But if you do want to add some brightness, I do mix the two just to make it a little bit lighter. What I like to do is take a flat concealer brush and just kind of mix those together before putting them. I just do a couple dots right here by my nose. This area of my nose gets really red. I kind of get that butterfly rash. And then I just do a little bit out here. Okay. I'm going to start to blend that out with my ring finger. So another way that I've really been reducing my stress lately, thanks to a friend of mine, is scrapbooking. I never really scrapbooked before. I never had much of an interest. Like, I always thought it would be nice, but I just didn't really have a desire to do it until my friend Sam showed me how. And now it's something that we can do together. We get together, we scrapbook, we chat, we have coffee, and it's just a really, really nice, calm get together with a friend and it's an introvert's dream, basically. And then it's not just that, but I'm creating something. I get to be creative, which is something I have always loved. I get to kind of be a little artistic, and I'm not just taking photos on my phone and then never doing anything with them. I'm actually making these memories and putting them into something. Like, I made a book for my honeymoon. I made one for my wedding. And a lot of people just keep their pictures like on Facebook. And now I have an album to look at, which is nice. I have an album for my dog. I have one that I made of our engagement pictures last year or the year before. And it's just really nice. I've even started making scrapbooks as gifts. My sister-in-law got family photos taken, and for her birthday that year, I put together pictures of her family, and she loved it. So yeah, scrapbooking. And it's just, again, it's kind of a meditative thing. You get to just sit and think about the pictures and how you want them to look on the paper. And it's kind of just a way to escape for a while and not have to worry about much else, which is something that people like myself that battle with that kind of thing just kind of need. Here, so then I'm going to take my baby Blendiful from Tati Beauty, and I'm going to set underneath my eyes. I have switched from the Makeup Forever HD setting powder, which works for a lot of people, for my foundation. It just never really seemed to jive that well. I switched to the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder, and this has just worked really nicely for me. We're not going to bake. We don't do that here. I know a lot of people have been following Robert Welsh and his advice about not baking. And I've never been a baker. Now, literally making delicious treats, yes. but baking has never worked for my skin. Even when I was super oily, it just never looked good. I've never liked it. And when I found him and I found that he didn't like it, I felt validated, because it's like, that was the first person to ever be like, no, this is dumb. And if you bake, you're not dumb. It's okay. Get that excess off of there. But I felt like I was doing something wrong, because all these people were like, oh, baking is so important. And I'm like, it's never worked for me. So it was just really nice to see him say that, and I felt like I wasn't crazy. So I kind of used this baby Blendiful just to like press this powder into my skin after tapping off the excess. Now that the weather is warming up, one of my favorite ways to de-stress in the spring and summer and fall, and sometimes even in the winter, I'm just making sure that nothing has creased underneath my eye, is walking. You all know that I have a Pomeranian who is downstairs barking at the mailman, but she likes to go outside. I like to be outside. And yeah, walking has just always, ever since I was little, has just been something that has been so therapeutic for me. I was never really able to run. It just hurts when I run, and walking is just, I love it. It's a great way to get moving. I mean, even if, you know, you're afraid of yoga, you're afraid of working out, you're afraid of being in a gym because you don't want to be judged, but you want to get some movement, walking is just something that, you know, if you're able to, it's just a great therapeutic thing. So now I'm going to brighten the areas of my face that I kind of want to highlight a little bit. I'm going to take what's left on the back of my hand and use that concealer brush again, because I don't want to use the wands. And I'm just going to do a little bit in the center of my forehead, slightly down my nose, a little bit here. Just brighten up the chin. If I'm going for a more glam look, I might even highlight like the sides of my jaw to just accentuate that contour a little bit, but today I just I don't know that that's the route I want to take. So I'm going to just wipe off the excess on my brush, and I'll clean that in a moment. I'm going to go back in with my Blendiful, find a clean side that doesn't have foundation all over it, and we're going to blend that out. Another way that I think a lot of women like to de-stress, and you know, some men too, there's no judgment here. I'm not going to say that, you know, this is something that only women can do. Like, I think that more men should do this because it's so relaxing, but taking a bath, it just makes me think of that episode of Friends where Chandler started to take baths and he was afraid of being made fun of. But oh my gosh, it's just it's always been, again, one of my favorite things. I like to go all out with some bath salts and some bubbles and rose petals and candles and incense, and just make it an experience. Such a great, if I'm gonna take a bath, it's gonna be on a Friday after I teach my last class, and I'm just going to veg out in there, either put on a guided meditation or put on some Netflix and just chill. So now we're going to take that setting powder and just lightly set any areas that are prone to creasing or anywhere that I might have put concealer. And I just use a brush. I feel like the Blendiful does not work for me for this. And I put that on that concealer, and I have some fine lines on the sides of my forehead. I want to make sure to kind of set in the nose there. And that's good. I just got the Cover FX Perfector face palette. This has kind of replaced my Benefit Cheek Leaders palette. Not that this isn't a decent palette, but this doesn't seem to have as irritating of a scent to it. I don't know that there's any fragrance in here. Let's look at the ingredients. Do we have? Here they are. Yeah, there is no, it has a smell, but there's no fragrance on that ingredient list. So I love it. And it's beautiful. And you actually have a contour shade, not a bronzer, which is just something that I think if you really want to contour your face is something that you need. It's a cooler tone, a little more on the gray side, which is going to add that shadow instead of that warmth, which we all should know and learn by now. So I'm going to first dip into this finishing powder. It's got a little bit of a luminescent glow to it. And I'm actually just going to get rid of this mirror and just go in with this mirror. And again, I just kind of like, I don't swipe, I just kind of press into the skin because that just works best for my skin. This has been so pretty. I keep getting a lot of compliments on what my skin looks like with this, and I think it looks great too. I kind of prefer it over to that. Now, that's not to say that you can't use bronzer. I feel like especially in the warmer months, everybody wants that kind of sun-kissed glow. And instead of, you know, harming your face and going out in the sun to get a tan, a great way to achieve that glow is with bronzer. So I'll continue to use that Cheek Glitters palette. I'm not saying that that's not a good palette and that there isn't a time and a place for bronzer, but bronzer does not do what contour does. And I'm actually going to just, you know, find a clean spot. I wash my hands a lot and just kind of swipe off any product that might be on this brush and go into that contour. I try to blend up into my hairline as much as possible, but you know, not a professional here. We all know, not a professional. I do contour the sides of my forehead to kind of make it look a little smaller. Don't worry, we're blending it out in a minute. I'm just distributing some product. And we might get a little swirl action going on here, but for the most part, I try to just kind of swipe. And I bring that kind of just out to like right here, because I'll be using more product on my temple in a moment, and there's just no point in covering it all up. We had a rogue bristle. So another thing to do, now if you're saying like, listen, Vanessa, we respect the fact that you have all these ways to reduce stress, but if you're watching and you're thinking to yourself, I just don't have time to go on a 10-minute walk. I don't have time to take a yoga class. I don't have time to sit and meditate for 5 minutes. I don't have time to take a bath, scrapbook, or even sit down and read before bed. I hear you, I understand. A lot of us have Apple Watches now, right? There's a setting on your watch that says breathe. And if you, that says breathe. And if you tap on that and you hit start, it will guide you through taking 7 deep breaths. It takes 60 seconds. If you don't have 60 seconds in your day to take 7 deep breaths, then really you might want to consider why you don't have 60 seconds. Like even if it's just like in your car at a standstill in traffic, just breathe. We gotta contour this jaw. Sometimes I kind of like to leave this area a little bit brighter. We are gonna bring some contour in there, but I'm gonna do it a little bit differently. We're gonna do under here. Now we all have our own different ways of de-stressing, managing, you know, our own stresses in life. So let me know in the comments kind of what you guys like for stress management. Just because I give you some of my favorites doesn't mean that there aren't so many ways that we can de-stress. And I'm curious to know what other people do. Some people find running very therapeutic. Again, I'm just unable to run. I've tried it many, many times and I just can't do it. And I've tried. I'm gonna take a fan brush now and I'm gonna go back into that contour shade, tap off the excess, and I'm going to just right at the cheekbone, kind of right underneath my temple, start applying a pretty good concentration of color. Don't worry, honey, we will blend it out. Don't be leaving me mean comments. Nobody really leaves me mean comments, and I really do appreciate it. I mean, I know, again, I don't have a ton of subscribers, but for those of you that are here, I really do appreciate you. And I really appreciate that nobody really leaves mean comments. I get a thumbs down every once in a while, but I'm not really that mad at it. Without dipping back into my contour, I'm gonna take what's left on this brush and just bring it underneath my bottom lip. And then just one dip, tap it off. We're gonna take this to the nose. I'm not going all the way up to my brow just yet. I'm starting at the bottom of my nose and getting both sides done here first. And then we're gonna blend it up just to where we're comfortable. It doesn't have to be up to the brow if that's not what you want. I also feel like this is not like the best way to contour your nose, but I genuinely have no clue what I'm doing. So there's always that. And then with my fluffy brush, I'm going to blend that out on the cheeks. And then I'm gonna take my blush brush and again, just one dip into this blush color. And I'm gonna go into that temple area that we kind of left blank and bring that down a little bit using stippling motions, maybe a little swipey swipe once we get some of that product off. Good. Good enough for me. So now I'm gonna take this brightener shade and actually I'm gonna use, a lot of times I use my ring finger for highlighter, just because, especially with the Jeffree Star one, that's what you kind of need to do. And I just feel like I have better control. But this is a pretty, it's very bright, but it's still natural. It's hard to explain. I'm gonna tap off the excess. Let's start today with that Cupid's bow. I need to get some gloss on these lips. That might have been a little excessive, but it's okay. And then I'm just going to see where the light is hitting my cheek. And for me, it's usually right along here. And I might even just go right under my brow, just to give it that natural kind of look. Same on this side, tilt my head up towards the light. It's gonna hit here. And then just blend all that out. Make sure it looks kind of sort of natural. Let's comb out these brows before we set the face. And I feel like our eyes need a little definition today. So once I get those, and then one more thing we're gonna do before we set the skin, make sure there's nothing on this. I'm going to take my Aveda blending brush, and I'm going to actually go into this highlighter shade here, maybe even go back and forth between these two. These are highlighters and they would work beautifully on slightly darker skin tones, but as you can see, they are dark on my skin. So I like to use these just right in my crease to add that little bit of definition. And then even once I get all that off, I'll go into my contour one more time and just kind of put that over that just to smooth it out and even sort of fan that up into the temple. I'm gonna go ahead and line my lips with the NYX lip liner in the shade SPL 857 Nude Beige. And then I'm just going to hit that with a touch of the Aveda Nourish-Mint Rehydrating Lip Glaze. And this is in the shade Agave. I'm not even sure. I know they reformulated a lot of their lip products, so I'm not sure if this is still available or not. But this was one of my go-to glosses when I worked in an Aveda salon. Good enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the skin. I have switched to the Cover FX High Performance Setting Spray. I feel like this is just the perfect balance between dewy and matte. I feel like it gives my skin, when my skin feels dry, it gives it a nice glow and it helps with any creasing or dryness. And when it feels normal, it just makes my makeup look beautiful. And the mist is so fine. Like you almost can't even feel it. It's definitely not what I'm used to with a setting spray. The ones that I was using by e.l.f., the misters, were not nearly as nice. And they came out kind of like in spurts on your face in chunks. And this just gives it a nice even coverage. And I always do mascara after setting spray because my setting spray always seemed to interfere with my mascara and cause it to transfer to my skin. I feel like with this setting spray, I'd be curious to see if that's the case because it's so fine. I don't think it would bother anything. And there you have it. This is my go-to more natural look. I wear this a lot when I'm teaching or when I'm going to brunch or anything where I just want a little bit of extra enhancements to my natural beauty, but I don't really feel like going into a full-on glam, crazy cut crease look. So let me know what you guys think and how do we feel about this contour as opposed to the bronzer that I had been using. I really feel like these products are some of the best products that I've ever tried in my life. So yes, those are my favorite ways to reduce stress. Leave some comments below. Let me know your favorite ways to manage and reduce your stress. And I will see you next week for our next wellness video. And in the meantime, I hope you all live happy, live free, live well. Namaste.